हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल अगेन कोडिंग विद दीपिका। तो आज की वीडियो में मैंने बात करी है कि आपको अपना रिज्यूमे किस तरीके से बनाना चाहिए। अगर आप एक फ्रेशर कैंडिडेट हैं तो उसके लिए भी मैंने पॉइंट्स हाईलाइट किए हैं, और अगर आप एक एक्सपीरियंस कैंडिडेट हैं तो उसके लिए भी।
The first thing that is very important for a resume is your resume format. So you should always choose the format based on your level of experience, because when your level of experience increases, so then your project experiences and the skills level increases. So based on that, you should always choose a format that can accommodate all of your experiences, all of your projects. If you are fresher, then might be your resume format could be different, and but if you are experienced person, then it could be different. If you are applying for multiple job positions, so let's suppose if you are applying for a software engineer, and then if you are applying for a data analyst also, then also your resume would be a bit different according to the different profiles. You should always maintain more than one resume if you are applying for the different profiles. Second thing about your resume length. So your resume length should not be more than one page, because when a recruiter reads your resume, so he has a lot of the applications for that a single job application. So basically, if your resume would be of more than one page or the two page, so might be it can lose the interest for the recruiter to go through your complete resume, and it will take only 10 or the 20 seconds to go through your complete resume from an recruiter endpoint. So basically, you need to accommodate all of your changes in just one page. Third thing that is also important about your resume format and the resume font. So your resume font should also be like in this way, so that it should not be like very blinky in the eyes when anybody would is reading about your resume. So let's suppose if you want to highlight any like basically experiences or your name, your designation, that you can choose in the bold letters. But if you are like writing about your experiences, writing about your summary, so you should always choose a standard format. It should not be like that it at one place like you have written in the area language, and in another one you have written in the Calibri language. At one place you have like basically chosen a format of size 10, or at second place you are like writing about the 12. So it should be consistent in your resume. That your heading should be like basically 12 or 14 font size, or rest of the content should be maybe like 12. It's good font size. Then fourth thing that I would like to mention specifically about the spacing. So whenever you are writing or you are mentioning something in your resume, so you should always keep that in mind, that any portion of your resume should not be blank. So I have seen few resume where like there's the left portion that is fully occupied, thus in the right portion the bottom portion is like basically is empty spaces. So it did not create any like basically good impact in the recruiter side if there is any empty space in your resume. So always try to mention more details if you think that this space would be like basically would be like empty. Then one more thing while making a resume, so you should always choose left indentation. So if you'll see my resume, so I have mentioned like the complete resume in a left indentation. It should not be like basically in one portion you are writing in the left indentation, and the second portion you are writing in the right indentation. So in nutshell I would like to say that your resume should look good. So if anybody like you are sharing your resume with anybody who is providing you the referral, so if anybody reads your resume, so it should be like small, crisp in the basically the content that you want to showcase to the recruiter, and it should not be like very blinky in the eyes that you have mentioned like basically science languages and the small GIF images. So that should not be in your resume. It is a professional purpose, so maintain it in a professional way. So the next part that we are going to talk about is about your first portion. So in the first portion, we should always maintain your name. It should be your designation. So if you are working somewhere, so you can mention about the software engineer, senior software engineer, whatever your designation is. Otherwise, let's if you are a fresher, so you can always return like a freshly graduate or something, and maybe it might be you don't need to mention your designation. Then the important thing that comes after it is your summary. So summary is always very important in your resume, because this is just 2 or 3 lines that makes a great impact to your resume. So whenever any recruiter reads your resume, so first of all it reads about your summary, that how much experience you have, what kind of work you have done. So what you can do, You can write all of these points and make a good impact statement and mention that in your resume. So what I have seen few of the resume in which the summary is just of the one line. So that's not a good sign for your resume. So always mention a good summary for your resume, so that like before going down and going reading down in your resume, anybody could analyze that what you want to mention in your resume by the summary portion. Then we come to the part of the contact details. So contact detail is again a very important part in your resume, where you mention your phone number and the email. Now the catching point about the phone number and your email address is that your phone number and email address should be like always reachable. So never mention any phone number and email address in your resume that you do not like basically see on a very frequent basis, because when any of the recruiter want to approach you, so first it will contact you through the phone number, otherwise it will contact you through the email. I would always recommend to mention a phone number. I have heard from like a few candidates that by mentioning the phone numbers, like their experience were not good, mainly for the female candidates. But still, I would like to mention that you can do what you can do. Like you can keep a separate phone and mention the phone number, and you can just use it for your official purpose. Your email ID should be like a good basically where like you can mention your name or something. So I have seen some of the email IDs in the resume where like they have mentioned cool dude or like something college name or something. So like that's also not good. So always make a good email ID so that it look good in your resume, because it's for the official purpose. Then in the contact detail, if you want to highlight your LinkedIn profile, if you want to highlight your lead code profile, any competitive platform profile, so you can always mention. It is always good to maintain your LinkedIn profile if you are an experienced candidate. I have not mentioned it, so yeah, that's a correction in my resume as well. So because like nowadays LinkedIn profile also makes a great impact in the catch of the recruiters. Some recruiter directly contact you through the LinkedIns. So but if you are a fresher, so might be you can skip that part, but if you have, so you should always mention that. Next part that that's also a very important part in your resume, and that is like basically shows about your technical skills, is about the skills and the experiences. So in the skills portion, you should always mention that skills on which you have actually worked. So I have seen few of the resume in which like the candidates mention about Java also, Python also, Munstack also, and React also. Think about a thing basically. I personally think that any person cannot work on like basically on very vast technologies, because UI is a different tag and Munstack is a different tag. And when it comes to the interview, so first of all your resume will be selected definitely, because you have mentioned so much good skills in your resume. But when it come to the interview part, so whatever is mentioned in your resume, so you cannot say to any of the like basically interviewer that I do not know these things. So for that, like it is always good to mention all of the skills that you have actually worked on and you have good hands on that. So for example, like I have mentioned I have mostly worked on the Java, so I have only mentioned the Java and the architecture side. And it is always good to basically mention mix and match of all of the skill set, because not only the languages, then architecture also, frameworks also, database also, and what are the building tool that you have used. So it's a like basically a good way to showcase your skills before the recruiters. Then comes to the experience level. In the experience level, I would say if you are an experienced person, so definitely there would be like basically, and if you have switched multiple times, so there would be definitely like might be 4 or 5 or might be 10 projects in your resume. So it always not possible to mention all of your projects. So what you can do, you can mention your experience basically from the most recent experience to the least recent one. And you can mention the projects whatever in which you have played a very major role. So for a fresher, always like there is a one project that they do in the college training time, and some of the project they also do for their own interest. So for a fresher, 2 or 3 projects is good enough to mention in a resume. But if an experienced one, so definitely there would be a, like basically a number of the projects, and you should always choose that which projects you want to mention, in which like you have worked and you remember that project, because interviewer can ask anything from one of the projects, so it's always good to mention the projects in which you have plays a good role. Second thing, whenever you are mentioning about any of the organization, so let's suppose I have mentioned this organization, so when did you join that company, when did you left that company, and if you are still working, so you can mention present. What was your designation, and what was the company name, and the third thing, what was the location. So these are very important thing to mention in the resume. Next thing, like it there you can always maintain your projects and experience in different sections also, and what I have done, I have clubbed both of these things. So in Ivanti I have worked on these things, so that's why I have written below it, so you can also do the same thing. So it's not mandatory to mention two different sections, like you can club both of these together. Always mention most recent experience then the least recent experience. Then there is a portion that comes the education. So education portion is important if you are a very important if you are a fresher, because like they have just recently graduated. But like if I talk about the experienced candidates, so I want to showcase my skills and experience first, so that's why like I have mentioned those things first. And in the education you can mention you are like basically if you are done the graduation or the post graduation, it's not necessary to mention 10th degree or the 12th degree. You can just mention about that in which year you have passed out and which of the university in which you have basically worked. So 10 12 percentage and other things are not necessary if you have more things to mention in your resume, so always avoid that things. Then this is the like this is also not very much important, but it if you know about any good language like the German, Spanish or something, then you can always mention in your resume, because sometimes some openings open for that particular position, or like maybe like your clients is from French, or they know about the French language and anything, so it's good if you know about some language. I do not know about English or Hindi, so I just mentioned English or Hindi. um, what other things, so yeah, one thing that is important, that never leave any space. So if you'll see my resume, so my resume is fully like basically the space is optimally utilized. If you'll see the experiences and the skill sets and the contact details, so there is no empty space in my resume. Always take care of that thing, because if in your resume if some portion is like if this portion is just left empty, so that doesn't create any good impact. One more thing, if you are a fresher candidate, so you can always mention extracurricular activities also, because in the college time we have always taken part in the clubs and other activities, so that shows your leadership skills also. But if you are a fresher candidate, so they are the very like good things also always mention in your resume. So always pay attention to mention good things about your projects, like not the very simple things like I have debugged the issues and other things. So if you'll see the content like I have handled a team of for freshers, and then I have worked on AWS service, so always mention such type of content, so that it can show your versatility about the work that you have done in a project. Don't repeat the things that I have done the same things in the projects. So yeah, for that like you can might be use any like AI tool or something to generate those things, or might be you can refer few people candidates resumes also, that would basically give you an insight that what should you mention and what should not mention. So yeah, for making resumes formats, you can use the sites like Canva or Resume Builder, Leafy or something. These are the good sites that you can mention. Gone are the days like when people used to make the resume on the doc, and like basically they showcase it, but nowadays they are the good sites in your to make the resume, and that's free also. So you can always like basically make the use of the internet and make a good template resume. Okay, and now one more thing that I want to highlight, when you are sharing your resume with anybody, so what you always need to do, always share resume in the PDF format, not in the doc format. So PDF format is a format that cannot be easily modified, so that's why like always share the resume in the PDF format. Second thing, if you are sharing your resume by a drive, so always give access to the person who is trying to download your resume. If you are asking for a referral, I have seen some of the candidates, they share it by the drive but they do not make it public, or might be they do not give the access, so then we have to like basically again call them and then make it public. So it's not a like good impact. So basically make it public so that like we can download the resumes. Yeah, so that's all about how to make a good resume. I will attach my resume also at the end of the video, so you can just take a reference of it. uh, it's not advisable to just copy paste the like basically whatever I have mentioned in my resume, but you can always take a reference. I have also taken the reference from somebody resume, so you can always take a reference. And yeah, keep liking my channel and always follow me for the good content. I will make my try my best to showcase good content, but yeah, I have also a limited bandwidth, so might be it can be a delayed, but definitely it would be there. Thank you very much. Keep following my channel, Coding with Deepika.